It's time for Speaking of Speaking. Quick tips and tools to take you from stage fright to spotlight. This podcast gives you an inside look from the world of public speaking and speaking secrets you need to be bold from the stage, no matter what business you're in. The host of Speaking, Carl Richards.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, another edition of Speaking, and it's our first guest on the podcast today. We'll be chatting with Diana Lidstone, who's known as the entrepreneur's GPS. Just like a GPS in a car, which helps you with direction, that's exactly what Diana Lidstone does with you and your business, whether it's regardless of what business it is. She's also a gold sponsor for Be Bold from the Stage, so we're very blessed to have her on the podcast today. Before we hear from Diana, and we'll get Diana's input on this. Firstly, welcome, Diana.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be your first guest. Woohoo!
Well, thank you. It's an honor to have you. Before we jump into what we're going to talk about today, which is the clear path to business and speaking success, we have a regular feature that we do on this podcast. It's called I Can't Believe I Saw This on Social Media. Now, as you know, you're a seasoned business person. You see a lot of interesting things, shall we say, on social media. One of the things I saw the other day was from a colleague, and no disrespect to anybody who I've worked with or who is out there as a coach or a trainer or a speaker or a consultant. But this particular individual was hanging out their shingle for a brand new online program that they're offering. And at first it sounded very good. I think it was 5 or 6 steps to better speaking, something like that. Some really cool components that were in that too. But then there was for the first 100 people that messaged me in my Facebook window, you'll get it for free. So then I looked at some of the other things, and I know you're chuckling. Then I looked at some of the other things that this individual has done. He's done everything from coaching for, not just coaching for speaking, but also coaching for being published, some physical and wellness coaching as well, which leads me into that topic of having that clear path to business and speaking success is you really need some direction. Otherwise, you're just caught up in this thing called hustle.
That's right, Carl. I see so many entrepreneurs trying to figure out what activity they should be doing, whether it's when they first get up in the morning or they wonder, well, I'm doing all these activities and I'm not getting anywhere. It's like, I'm going to write a blog. That means a newsletter. If a newsletter, post it on LinkedIn. If I post it on LinkedIn, it should be on Facebook. Then it means Facebook ads. And if it's Facebook ads, then maybe I should be doing webinars. And yes. So they are stuck in hustle. But the sad thing is there's too many of them stuck in hustle for too long a time. But
there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, but you have to realize you're in that hustle mode or have a coach such as yourself that can say, hey, you know what? You're hustling. Yeah. Somebody that can help you do that. And you have a great process that you walk people through, starting with what is that person's natural or instinctive ability? And you refer to that as DNA.
I do. I refer to it as entrepreneurial DNA, which stands for your distinctive natural advantage. And the whole purpose around this is that we should be building a brand, a business around what we're already great at. And I say that your DNA or your distinctive natural advantage consists of 3 basic elements. Your acquired mastery. So those are the, experiences of your life and your business that you've acquired. Number 2 is your demonstrated results. Those results that your clients can attest to. And last but not least, your effortless talents. And your effortless talent is usually that thing that, your friends, your family, your clients, your colleagues say, oh my God, how did you do that so easily? But it is that thing that as entrepreneurs, we undervalue the most because it comes so easily to us. And if you can think of 3 intersecting circles, and when these circles intersect, that's your entrepreneurial DNA. And so when you focus on those things that you're already good at, then already a bunch of activities sort of disappear. So if we use you as an example, Carl, and let's say you're building your business and somebody might say, well, Carl, you need a blog and you need to be writing content, et cetera, et cetera. But if we look at your strengths, as a radio broadcaster and as a speaker, we look at the things that you overcome. You've overcome, stuttering. Well, to me, then it seems rather obvious that speaking and podcasting and Facebook Lives would be something that you would focus on as opposed to, the writing kind of thing. So that's just a quick and dirty example of focusing on your entrepreneurial DNA.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I have heard so many other business coaches and consultants say, well, if you want to be in business, you have to do speaking. But as a speaker coach, you should also have a blog and you should have this kind of content on your website. So, but I think you hit on a very strong point there about really working on and focusing on what you already are naturally good at. And then, as we say in the business world, once you have a little bit of revenue behind it, because as a solopreneur, let's face it, when we start out, we're wearing many hats, right?
Exactly.
We're just at that level of business, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but we're at that level of business where we end up being the person that schedules all of our appointments and, sweeps the floor at the end of the night and also does all of those things in our business. But once you're at a certain point where you can just focus on what you're good at, that's where the magic happens. That's where things really start to gel and connect. And realistically, it also positions you as an expert that much better, that much more.
Yeah. It's funny that if you think back to, school, you think back to even university or perhaps your first job, all the reviews were, oh, well, maybe you're not so good in math, so you really should improve your math skills. Well, I'm going the other way. If you're really good as a speaker, why don't you just get really freaking good as being a speaker and master it as opposed to trying to do something that you're not really good at? And that is the whole purpose of when I focus on entrepreneurial DNA. I mean, the example that I used is very, very simplistic. It goes much deeper than that, but that gives, I think, your listeners an idea. The analogy that I've been using, and I'm sure some of your listeners can appreciate this, entrepreneurial activities, we get up in the morning and we're so freaking busy, but are we being productive? And if we think of all the entrepreneurial activities like as a buffet, and we kind of walk up to this buffet and we go, oh, frig, where do I start? Or, I'll start in the middle, I'll start at the end, I'll gorge myself, but I still not moving my business forward. And when you know your entrepreneurial DNA, it allows you just to go to that end of the buffet and focus on that buffet. Those activities that are there.
Let's talk about the Grow Meter, because this is very unique to your business and what you do to help people in that. And that speaks quite clearly to what you were just talking about is what are some of those activities that you should be doing and when should you be doing them in your business? So first off, what is a Grow Meter? What is it?
Well, if you can visualize a thermometer, so the Grow Meter demonstrates the 4 basic stages of business growth. What I call the glorified employee, the manager, the CEO, and the legacy. So you start at the bottom as the glorified employee and it goes up. The thing is that there are very specific activities to focus on at different stages of business growth. So again, the Grow Meter helps you eat correctly from that entrepreneurial buffet of activities. So just really quickly, as a glorified employee or someone who is, not necessarily just starting out, but I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners kind of down in this area for a long time. And if you're just at the point in your business where you're just covering costs, there's a number of things to focus on. And I say it's cash, focus on revenue generating activities, creating connection and getting that clarity about what your message is, what your offer is, and what your outreach is. You don't have to focus on, perfect tagline, a fancy website, Facebook ads, joint ventures, staff, writing a book, paid traffic, multiple social media platforms. Let it go. And when I first started creating this Grow Meter, there were so many of my clients that got, oh, thank God, or, oh my God, it just makes it so much easier that I really now know what it is I need to focus on to get that traction that I want in my business. When it comes to speaking, a lot of people who think, well, I'm just going to go out there and be a motivational speaker, but they don't put the right foundations into their business at that, what I call the glorified employee. They don't know who they're speaking to. They don't know their ideal audience. They don't know what their message is. Do they have something that they're offering these people? How are they going to get that consistent outreach? They just think they'll just stand up on a stage and speak. And so they really do need a roadmap. You do need a strategy for going forward.
And what would part of that strategy be?
Well, for me, it's about getting really, really, really clear on what I call the three basic elements. And that is, what's your clear message? Who are you talking to? What is your compelling offer? Because today there is a limited market for what used to be called motivational speakers. So even if we look at Tony Robbins, who might be considered a motivational speaker, he doesn't just speak. He coaches and he has programs and he has this and he has that. So as a speaker, what is your offer? What is the next step that you want your audience to take with you? So that's the second element. And the third element is, what is that consistent outreach going to be for you as a speaker? And that all depends on where it is you want to speak and that sort of thing. Are you going to do podcasts? Are you going to do blogs? Are you going to do social media? Which social media platform are you going to be on? I had a prospect ask me the other day, so what's my marketing strategy? And I said, well, I can't really determine that until we look at what your DNA is, your entrepreneurial DNA. What are you already good at? And he went, oh. So, it was like backing up. Let's back up and look at who you are first.
We were just talking about this on the previous episode, actually. Episode 7, we talked about speaking and technology, and I listed a number of things that people can do if they want to get on some of those, as opposed to the physical stage, which is still very important if you want to be a speaker. But there's also the virtual stages you can get on, whether it's Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, podcasts, webcasts, whatever it is. But you're right, you need to know who your audience is. You need to know who you're going to be speaking to, what you're going to be speaking to them about. You need to know your DNA. We've covered a lot of things today. We've talked about the DNA. We've talked about the Grow Meter. Is there anything else you want to add today that will help people not only get on that clear path to speaking success, but to business success as well?
Thank you for asking that question, because, if you're stuck in hustle, if you're stuck, kind of spinning your wheels or on this treadmill, and we talked about the DNA and we talked about the Grow Meter, but you still need what I call 3 mission critical elements. And that one of those is a strategic roadmap, which we kind of hinted about. The second is, what is exactly going to be your marketing mix, or the mix of marketing methods, because it's never just one. And the third element is, what is your primary differentiator? What makes you different? And so, I like to tell the story. I went to a conference last year, and it was all speakers. And what do you speak on? Well, if I heard one person tell me, oh, I speak on leadership, I went, oh my God, I must have met 15 people, and they said, I speak on leadership. And I went, to me, that made, they were all the same. And what differentiates you from someone else? And so, Carl, you teach people to speak with confidence. I mean, that's different than, speaking perhaps to grow your business, or speaking to, be on huge stages. But for you, the main focus is really about helping people speak with confidence and step up and, stop being that best kept secret. So how can you position your business, your speaking, your brand as being different?
My guest today has been Diana Lidstone, the Entrepreneur's GPS. She's also a gold sponsor for Be Bold from the Stage. Before I give you all the information about Be Bold from the Stage, I'd like you to carry this discussion forward with Diana. If you find that you're in hustle mode and you need to move things in a different direction, Diana is certainly here to help you do that. Diana, how can people get a hold of you? How can they book a discovery session with you to find out what the next step is with you?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. It's simply go to my website, dianalidstone.com. And if they want to book a session, dianalidstone.com/apply will take you directly to the growth strategy page. And but my website has all my contact information, so I'd love to chat with them further.
And of course, if you're going to be at Be Bold from the Stage, you'll have a chance to meet Diana. Diana is also a published author. I'm assuming she'll have copies of her books there as well.
Shift into Rich, Navigate 9 Roadblocks to Small Business Success.
It's a fantastic book. I have a copy on my shelf. I have read it. I keep referring back to it. You'll have a chance to pick that up at Be Bold from the Stage. You'll also have a chance to meet Diana and hear Diana in action as well from Be Bold from the Stage, which is my signature event on March the 8th in Kingston, Ontario. If you like TED Talks, if you like Mo Mondays, if you like inspiration and speakers who connect with authenticity, you're going to love this event. Now, there's still some tickets available. They are $60 each, but if you enter the promo code STAGE today at my website, carlspeaks.ca, you'll get that ticket for $30, and you'll have a fantastic day connecting with some amazing thought leaders, including Diana Lidstone, the entrepreneur.
Thanks, Carl.
Yes, thanks for joining me today, Diana.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Fired up about something you heard today? Want to learn more? Be sure to visit carlspeaks.ca. And don't forget to follow Carl on Twitter at CarlRichard72 or join the Facebook group Speaking of Speaking.